Welcome to Fearless with Jason Whitlock. I'm Jason Whitlock, your host. Thank you so much for joining me. Happy Tuesday. Glad you're here. Today we're going to cover some sports topics, myself and Steve Kim. It's going to be awesome. We're going to trash Trey Wingo, I believe, here very shortly. But before we trash Trey Wingo over his Harrison Butker take, I want to remind you guys to make sure you're checking out exclusive extra Fearless content on Blaze TV. Go to blazetv.com/fearless. Use the promo code Fearless, and you can save $20 on your yearly subscription. Please do that. Get that extra content. It's actually a favor for you. Steve Kim joining me at the top of the show. And Steve, I've got a conversation for us that I just can't believe we're having. I was always somewhat of a fan of Trey Wingo, ESPN broadcaster, brand attached to the National Football League, host of their NFL Today show for a long time, associated with the National Football League. Trey didn't really bother me, although I will share a personal incident engagement with Trey throughout this conversation at some point that's a little off-putting. But yesterday, it was announced that the Kansas City Chiefs had signed Harrison Butker, their kicker, to a nice contract extension. I think $27.5 million, $5-6 million a year on this extension for Harrison Butker, making him the top paid kicker in the National Football League. Butker, of course, has been in the news cycle recently or this summer because he went to a Catholic college, Steve, and being a Catholic, he preached Catholic values during a commencement speech, and people's heads exploded because he said, hey, look, his wife found the most satisfaction in being a homemaker, and this made people's heads explode, and oh my God, he's one of the worst human beings on the planet. How dare he tell women graduating from college that they may want to be a mom and a wife and a helpmeet? How dare he preach Catholic values at a Catholic college? So he survives that, gets this enormous contract, and Trey Wingo tweets out yesterday, the Harrison Butker extension, making him the highest paid kicker, ellipses, underscores the inherent truth of the NFL. The better you are at the job, the more a team is willing to put up with, pure and simple. That's the story of Harrison Butker getting a contract. Like, look at what the Chiefs are having to put up with. He's a Catholic, and he believes in Catholic values. They got a wide receiver that did Rashid Rice, did he kill somebody? Or he certainly was involved in a hit and run accident. Andy Reid's son, a coach on the team, injured a little girl in a drunk driving accident. What is Trey Wingo doing here? What is he thinking? Other than pandering, what is this?
Well, that's exactly what it was. The W in Wingo stands for white guilt, obviously. And we know what he's going to be doing for Labor Day weekend. He's going to the barbecue. That was his way of securing the invite to the cookout. Now, I don't know if he's going to bring the potato salad with the raisin. I know white folks love that. The hot dog buns. I don't know if he's going to bring the ribs or the hamburger patties. But he got absolutely skewered. But that is his way of placating his bosses, because that really ensures that he has a job or that he'll elevate himself up the ladder further. Because if he took the other stance and said something to the effect, look, Colin Kaepernick just was not worth the trouble, that would have been an issue on two fronts. Number one, his management and his higher-ups probably would not have approved that messaging. And then a lot of guys like him, they're deathly afraid of the blowback they would receive from certain segments of Twitter. But what's interesting is, Jason, I was really heartened by the fact, because when you retweeted it with your own retweet quote, I went through the comments. Trey Wingo got absolutely skewered. But yes, it is pandering, it is white guilt, and it is a way in my view, to try and get the approval of the masses and his corporate bosses.
So he's been released from ESPN, so you'd think he would be free of the woke agenda. Yeah, he's no longer there.
Then he's trying to get rehired. Free. Then Jason, let me take that back because I don't really follow Trey Wingo that closely. There's no doubt about it. He's trying to make himself hireable. That's exactly what it is, because if he goes our route, then he has to become really a renegade and an independent. So that is his way of basically saying, hey, guys, I'm here to play ball. I'll say anything you want, and I'll be Kermit the Frog, and I will be your puppet.
Steve, he had the option of saying nothing. Harrison Butker signed a contract extension. My immediate thoughts weren't like, oh, wow, the Chiefs are really going out on a limb here after what he said at Benedictine College or whatever. He could have said nothing. And so it's clearly just like, hey, social media, I think this will be popular. I don't think there's any way he thought he would get the blowback that he's getting. I don't think he thought that. But maybe he did, because the other thing that I'm amazed at is that the tweet is still up, or that there's not a follow-up tweet saying like, hey man, I really blew that one. I look kind of foolish here. When you think about all the things NFL players, professional athletes get involved in, Harrison Butker, a speech at a Catholic university, that's all, boy. I mean, that's nearly that's Michael Vick in dogfighting. And again, I like Michael Vick. That's Greg Hardy in domestic violence, and I defended Greg Hardy's second chance. That's Ray Lewis and what happened in Atlanta, and I love Ray Lewis. It's what is he? This is nothing. I'm just like, what are the Chiefs putting up with? A great kicker who's seems to be in a legitimate marriage? That's what they're putting up with.
I'll actually give Trey Wingo credit for living up there then. To a certain degree, if that's what you truly believe, fine. But here's the other issue, though. How high are the standards he has for white people when he believes that being in a marriage is a distraction? That is somehow bad for team chemistry. Wait a minute. This guy doesn't have 3 baby mamas? You mean in the locker room he can't complain about child support or the abortion that one of his mamas would not get? And again, what the standards you place on somebody is really what you think of them. I'm going to say that again. That is a Confucius saying, number 1. That's number 1 on the commandments. But again, Trey Wingo, once you're in that system, I believe, and again, this is just a personal opinion, and it's not a slight on Trey Wingo. Everyone has to make a living. I believe that a lot of white journalists and broadcasters are absolutely deathly afraid of saying what they really feel or stating logical things culturally because they are afraid of being branded racist or prejudiced.
Well, and you're right, though. They're actually showing their prejudice. I like your point because what he's legitimately saying is like, for a white player, a distraction is saying something biblically sound at a religious university. It's not like Harrison Butker took a knee during the national anthem and said, hey, I'm objecting to women leaving the home. I'm objecting to women in the workplace. Let me take a knee during the national anthem.
Yeah.
He didn't do this. He didn't do it during the NFL season. He didn't do it at an NFL stadium. He didn't do it in front of NFL TV cameras. He went to a Catholic school, expressed Catholic values, and the line is so thin or the pressure so high on white guys that this is seen as bad behavior. And I'm like, hold on. In the last 24, 48 hours, didn't I hear about Tyreek Hill getting $90 million or some kind of restructured contract? Or haven't I heard recently about that, Tyreek Hill? And Tyreek Hill is a baby mama factory. A baby mama factory. He's got 6, 7 baby mamas. And he plays for the Dolphins, but Trey Wingo would never tweet out like, hey, man, they just gave this guy $90 million and he's got 7 baby mamas. You want to talk about a distraction?
Well,
7 baby mamas. That's a distraction.
Well, yeah, especially on Family Day when the players are allowed to bring all their wives and families. Could you imagine? He'd have to have his own football field. But anyway, could you imagine? Let's say if Rashee Rice has this renaissance year, right? I know they got some new receivers. They drafted Xavier Worthy. But let's say Rashee Rice suddenly becomes the second coming of Stephon Page or Carlos Carlson, right? And he gets a big extension because he's on his rookie contract. Do you think, be honest, do you think Trey Wingo would dare bring up, teams, this Rashee Rice $90 million extension really shows teams will put up a speed racer if the guy can put up a 1,000-yard season? Look, the only comment I had about Harrison Butker and that new contract, I would have said, well, what is Justin Tucker worth then? I think that's much more of a salient point than the fact that this guy has a certain amount of beliefs. But again, Confucius say the standards they have for you is what they think about you.
I want to say this as well, and I'm keeping it real with you. I haven't talked to anybody in the Chiefs organization in a month or two, or I can't remember. It's been a minute. So no one told me this. But it's my belief, like, hey, this is a big statement. The Chiefs are making a statement about their values and what they support. And it's a positive statement. It's like, hey, we got this guy's back. And say what you want about Andy Reid and his kids who have had their problems. But Andy Reid has religious faith, not my religious faith, but he has religious faith. And part of his worldview is to extend a helping hand that's one of the reasons why he took on the Michael Vick project, not just Michael Vick's talent, but he was the right coach because he uses football to be a ministry and to help men. And again, I understand his sons have had problems, but I think the Chiefs, starting with Andy Reid, starting with Clark Hunt, starting with the entire Hunt family, all the way down to Brett Veach, the general manager. I think, they haven't told me this, but I think they support Harrison Butker and what he did at that university. I think it reflects their worldview as well.
Well, Jason, were you on the Kansas City beat in '95? And you moved up the ladder at that point? Okay. Do you remember a kicker by the name of Lynn Elliott?
Of course I do. Offered to buy him a one-way ticket out of town. Yeah. Right.
Let me just tell you something. When you're Harrison Butker and you make clutch kicks, they have your back. When you're Lynn Elliott, GTFOH. Let's just be honest. Look, some of this might be moral and ethical and having the same philosophy. Butker is Mr. Clutch. Again, what did Jimmy Johnson once say? If you are productive and good and you work hard, I'll let you occasionally fall asleep in a meeting and I'll get you a cup of coffee. If you're that backup special team player like John Roper, who was an underachiever, the minute you fall asleep, clean out your locker. Again, it's really that simple. This is a meritocracy, the National Football League. The better you are, the more you can get away with. But Butker really didn't get away with anything. Let's just be honest. He's just a quality place kicker.
So I don't want to get anyone in trouble and draw them into controversy, but I will say this, and I have not spoken to anyone connected to the Chiefs organization in a month or two. But I do know when this thing kicked off, there were people within that Chiefs organization, high-ranking people, who supported Harrison Butker and his view. And I love the message here because, again, I look around the sports world and it looks like all the bad guys get all the rewards. And I say that, and, for me, Steve, obviously, me and this show, we talk about faith a lot. But I look around and I know I didn't prepare you for this, but I look around and go, how is Snoop Dogg getting $500,000 a day for being at the Olympics? Here's a guy that promotes drug use, claims to be a pimp, claims to be a Crip gang member, makes music that glorifies killing, drug dealing, promiscuous sex, the abuse of women. And somehow he's at the forefront of our Olympic coverage. And so it's finally, I can look at, he's getting $500,000 a day reportedly for being at the Olympics.
It's a good gig.
A pimp. And he's the number one pitchman in all of America. And so I look at this and I go, okay, well, here's a guy on the other side of that fight who does the right things, who's getting a reward. I almost thought it was illegal to be Harrison Butker in American society now and get any type of reward. I thought all the rewards were reserved for gang members and guys that preach and promote debauchery.
Well, it's illegal to get praise from mainstream media if you're Harrison Butker. But going back to the Snoop point, it's really interesting. I have a question now. What was a bigger facade then, or what is a bigger facade? The persona he had back in 1992 or the one he has now? Who is really Snoop Dogg? But again, this is symbolic and emblematic of the loosening and the lowering of the bar in terms of cultural standards. You're right. Look, there is a place for Snoop Dogg, a.k.a. Calvin Broadus, to be what he was. He was in that world of gangbanging and gangster rap and all that, very successful at it. Over time, he has evolved and kind of been a chameleon, but I never thought I'd see the day, especially when he's putting out albums way back when, like what's it called, the Dog Pound, that he would actually be like the safe, cuddly, almost this American mascot for NBC's coverage of the Olympics. Does it say that Snoop Dogg has elevated his persona, or have we lowered our standards culturally?
We've lowered our standards, Steve. There's no question about it, because Snoop Dogg hasn't changed. He hadn't disavowed any of that. When they put him on the Super Bowl halftime performance, he crip walked. Grabbed his crotch, crip walk, did all. He hasn't changed. He's the same guy from 1992. He's just older. We have changed and just said, hey, look, that's the way, that's what we're rewarding. That's who's being celebrated. We got a criminal culture, man. We got a criminal culture. All right, I got another topic for you, Olympic related, but before I do that, I want to talk to you about our great friends, my great friends at Lumen, a device that's really helping me out. Lumen is the world's first handheld metabolic coach. It's a device that measures your metabolism through your breath. And on the app, it lets you know if you're burning fat or carbs and gives you tailored guidance to improve your nutrition, workout, sleep, and even stress management. All you have to do is breathe into your Lumen first thing in the morning, and you'll know what's going on with your metabolism, whether you're burning mostly fats or carbs. Then Lumen gives you a personalized nutrition plan for that day based on your measurements. You can also breathe into it before and after workouts and meals, so you know exactly what's going on in your body in real time, and Lumen will give you tips to keep you on top of your health game. Because your metabolism is at the center of everything your body does, optimal metabolic health translates to a bunch of benefits, including easier weight management, improved energy levels, better fitness results, better sleep, and more. So if you want to take the next step in improving your health, go to lumen.me and use Fearless to get $100 off your Lumen. That's Lumen, LUMEN.me, M-E, Mary Edward, and use the promo code Fearless at checkout for 15% off. Thank you, Lumen, for sponsoring this episode. Steve, I want to bring you into this conversation because I know you're a workout fiend, and this is like a real life example. I've got a problem with my metabolism. I've been using the Lumen, and I've been struggling to consistently get myself in the fat burning stage, and this is where the Lumen deal has helped me out. Is what it's done, getting this Lumen has made me start doing resistance training. I'm a big cardio guy.
Finally.
And there's only so far, You can only go so far with the cardio, and Lumen has made me realize that. And now, I'm trying to do a couple hundred push-ups a day and just mixing in some resistance deal. I know you are at the gym, 3 or 4 times a week?
Well, I work out downstairs. I don't actually go to the LA Fitness anymore. That's one of the things that changed with the pandemic. I just let my membership run out. And if you're doing push-ups, I will give you another tip. Hopefully you take this one. Because I told you 4 years ago, you got to start lifting weights. Mike Tyson push-ups. I swear by them. I think it's the best body workout. And at my age, my knees were getting sore. I really couldn't lift heavy anymore without feeling like I got ran over by a Mack truck. I'm going to send you some videos. Mike Tyson push-ups. Learn how to do them.
What are they?
Learn how to. Basically, they are modified push-ups with your heels on the wall. And instead of just doing a regular push-up, you almost get into a crouch stance and you come back down. And they're famous because when Mike Tyson was in prison, he did those over and over again and stayed in shape. And if you actually go to YouTube and you type in Mike Tyson push-ups, you'll see various workouts. And Jason, I can honestly say this. When you start doing the timed interval workouts with this mechanism, I sweat more in about 5 minutes into that workout than even boxing, which I do once or twice a week. And you could do a full workout with the timed interval workouts in about 27 to 28 minutes. Yeah, really efficient. I'm going to send you some stuff today.
Is the Mike Tyson push-up easier or harder than a regular push-up?
I believe it's different. It can be harder, especially when you first start, because it really depends on how wide you have your hands, how high you're going up on the wall in the crouch position. But Jason, the beauty of the Mike Tyson push-up is this. All you need is a wall. All you need is a wall, and you put your heels on your foot flat on it. You get a nice little yoga mat, and then bang. And by the way, yoga, you also got to do that once or twice a week. Do it to Nita Baker. It's like heaven. Oh, Miss Baker. You just do that. So a little bit of resistance workout with the Mike Tyson push-ups, yoga with Miss Baker, and find yourself a nice gym in Nashville with a good heavy bag. So there you go. There you go. That's the Kim plan right there.
That you know what? You just reminded me, because I'm having a very nice gym put in my house, and I'm gonna add a heavy bag to my gym.
Yes.
I'm gonna add it. Yeah, that'll be good. All right. Let me move on, Steve. Did you see this thing yesterday where Simone Biles? I think she took second in the floor exercise, and then some woman from Brazil took first, and then I think another woman from America took third, and so everybody is celebrating this all-black picture of Simone Biles and the other American woman bowing in front of this Spaniard or Brazilian woman. And they're saying, the all-black, this is an iconic photo, an all-black podium, and this is somehow celebrated as some great thing. And it's just a reminder to me of why I'm not watching the Olympics, why I'm not on board with Simone Biles. I'm not a Simone Biles fan. She's divisive. She's a race idolater. She's a race bait victim and all that. I just did, and I'm just tired of everything being labeled as historic. How in an Olympic sporting event, the Olympics have been going, how can an all-black podium, have you seen the 100-meter dash photos for the last 100 years? Yeah. Have you seen the podiums for the 200-meter dash? Have you seen the podiums for a lot of these boxing events? I get it. It's gymnastics. And it's not history. And it's not unifying to be discussing sports in this way constantly. So it was just a turnoff to me.
Yeah, we don't have enough black athletes that are getting celebrated or win events. You know what would be really historic? A modern day spelling bee without Indian kids. That's rare. Now that is something you don't see a lot. But it is interesting. I saw some race. I don't know what event it was, but it was track and field, and I think it may have been the 800 meter or something.
800 meter dash. 800 meter.
Yeah.
Hey, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, and some
Well, I'm
lone
gonna try to
white
find
woman.
this picture.
Yeah, some lone
Justin, see if
white
you can
woman
find it. Yeah.
was the winner, and she was out in front, and I kept waiting for all of the other ladies of color to take over, and so she would finish in like 7th place. I'm thinking, okay, it was a good effort. Maybe she's the rabbit, maybe she's setting the pace. Jason, she actually pulled away like a Kenyan at the Boston Marathon after Heartbreak Hill. I could not, but my eyes turned round watching that. Now, if you want to bow down to anybody at the metal podium, that glacier glider who was gliding really well down the stretch, now that needs to be celebrated. That is rare, Whitlock. We got to get some photos.
Man, it's a woman from Great Britain. It's a woman from Great Britain. And I saw a bunch of borderline racist tweets, but not even borderline.
There are some jokes about that, why she was running so fast. Yeah, I heard those too. We rebuked those.
I can't believe I can't easily find this. I should have had it called up because it was. I know who tweeted it out. Let me see if I can find it on his page. But yeah, there it is. There it is. Let me send this to Justin and these guys and see if we can get it up on screen before too long.
That may not be the best idea, Whitlock. Just letting you know.
Dude, I don't. Look, we've turned everything into a racial discussion, and so I'm not going to be shocked or upset when white people start going the other direction and saying, okay, all black podium, how you like these apples? And we're provoking this type of mentality. The other thing, while I wait on this picture, is see, and now I'm about to say something really politically incorrect that'll get me in trouble, but put up the picture of Simone Biles getting interviewed, and I just want you to look. Do you see some? And I don't. Is that Amber Rose interviewing her? Is that a white woman? I don't know. But Simone Biles' feet don't touch the floor. That's a borderline midget. And I'm just being honest with you. And we're doing all this. Oh my God, she's the greatest of all time. She's the greatest athlete of all time. And most of us don't even understand gymnastics. We don't know how it's scored. We don't know what's good or bad. But we all pretend every 4 years like, oh my God, what an incredible athlete. She's the greatest. She's the Jesse Owens. She's the Serena Williams. She's the Michael Jordan. What was the guy's name from Fantasy Island?
Tattoo, the plane. But Jason, did you just call her Vern Troyer or Billy Barty? She's a great look. I'm going to say this. When you take a look at every list that says greatest athletes in the world, to me, gymnasts and decathletes are right up there. They don't play major sports that we care about, but the things that they can do with their bodies, catapulting themselves in the air and flipping and their high twitch, I get it. She's not as big as Kevin Garnett, but generally to do that stuff, less is more.
As big as Kevin Garnett's thigh. She's not as big as Kevin Garnett's thigh.
All right, so she's like Muggsy Bogues with Michael Jordan's skill. Give her some due, Whitlock. Jeez.
Wow.
No, you hate her.
I can't say I hate her, but I just don't like the whole little victimhood gimmick. Yeah, I don't like her persona.
Yeah, I noticed.
Let's circle back to the woman from Great Britain, and everybody celebrate. A lot of white people celebrating this photo of her in the 800-meter dash. That one white woman blowing past 7 black women, and it's quite a picture. And people have been celebrating this, and they're, oh my God, they're racist. If this was reversed, if there was one black woman and 7 white women were tracing, everybody be sending this out. This is historic. This is unbelievable. This is, oh my God, a black woman has beat 7 white women and white privilege. You're inviting white people to do the same. You're being played, is my point. You're being pitted against people along racial lines. The other thing that someone pointed out is like, if you look at that picture, there's a lot of candidates, or there's several candidates in here that need that XY XX chromosome testing.
Oh, jeez. Wow. I can't wait for these Olympics to be over. That whole event, this whole thing may get us canceled, Jason. And quite frankly, I need this job, and so do you. Good grief.
I'm just keeping it real. All right, Steve, let me move us on before I get us into more trouble. The National Football League, and by the way, this is a good segue into this conversation. The Pro Football Hall of Fame contacted me yesterday, confirmed my reporting that they are changing the standards, and they're going to restructure to, make it a tiny bit more difficult. They wanted to make sure that I understood that they don't believe they've allowed anyone in who's undeserving. They just want to be clear. I made the point. I was like, I'm not saying you think that. I'm saying the Hall of Famers think that, and that's why they've been complaining so loudly, and I appreciate you changing. But they did call me and confirm that at some point the rest of the media will pick up on this story. That's pretty significant that the Pro Football Hall of Fame is changing its induction process to clean up a problem that Hall of Famers were complaining about. Most of the media seems to be trying to ignore this because they hate me. But again, good information when I got it, confirmed by the Pro Football Hall of Fame, which leads me to this, Steve. The NFL Network has released its top 100 NFL players based on voting by current NFL players. And I found the list odd, but it is a reflection of what the players think, I guess. And somehow Tyreek Hill, a wide receiver, at the top of the list, number one. Really odd, Lamar Jackson, number two. Christian McCaffrey, number three. Patrick Mahomes, number four. Myles Garrett, five. Chris Jones, the defensive tackle for the Chiefs, six. Trent Williams, offensive tackle for the 49ers, seventh. TJ Watt, pass rushing specialist, Pittsburgh, eight. And then odd, Travis Kelce, number nine. And then 10, Max Crosby, the pass rusher for the Raiders. What's the craziest thing in that top 10?
A lot of white guys. Wow. A lot of white guys. And by the way, to have a white running back, number 3 in the year 2024, that should be saluted at the podium. Okay? But here's the thing. Number one, this league is run by one player. If there's a Michael Jordan, where the championships go through him, it's Patrick Mahomes. They're overthinking this, Jason. All due respect to our guy, Coach JB. This league, till someone knocks him off consistently, it is Mahomes. He is number one. And the fact that he's not the top-rated quarterback, it almost, and again, Lamar Jackson's very good, 2-time MVP. It kind of hurts the credibility of this whole list, in my view.
I think Patrick Mahomes behind Lamar Jackson devastates the credibility of this list.
Yeah, travesty.
And makes me, and again, it goes down to this. Again, 70% of the NFL players are black, and we have this whole identity deal. Who's authentically black? Is it the half black, half white guy who's married to a white woman and to me has white kids, very white kids? Or is it Lamar Jackson who wears gold chains, speaks broken English, wears his hair braided up or, cornrows or whatever, a bit more street than Patrick Mahomes? And did that impact the voting? I get that Lamar Jackson was MVP last year, but cut it out. No one thinks Lamar Jackson is a better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes.
Jason, it's very simple. I would like to ask these players, gun to head, if you had to have a quarterback, all things being equal, in a traditional pro offense or any offense, Who would you rather have to win one singular game over Patrick Mahomes? Or would it be Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson? I believe the large majority would say, and they wouldn't say it loudly, they'd probably go under their breath. They'd go, all right, Mahomes. They would. The other thing is, Jason, I see this a lot, and I like the way the NFL does this, the network. I've watched all of these shows throughout the years, the top 100. They have the players vote. And yes, football players know a lot about football. But do they really know about every other team besides themselves or the ones they prepare for? So they have these lists, and they have to list like the top whatever, and then they tabulate the votes. But I have found this in boxing. Sometimes the most ignorant views on the state of the game or a boxing event or a match or a fight, guess what? Ironically, is the fighters, because they all have biases. They once trained with the guy. We have the same trainer or under the same manager, or I hate that guy. And so they give you the most biased opinions sometimes, mixed in with some really great insight. I think a lot of that, how could a wide receiver who votes on it, do they really know who the best interior lineman is? Do they really know who the best two-gap nose guard is? Do they really know that? Do they really study it, or do they just kind of say, well, I went to college with this guy, or this guy's my teammate? So again, even that has to be taken with a grain of salt.
What do you think about Tyreek Hill at the top of this list? I'm going to tell you why I'm less bothered by that than Lamar Jackson being ranked ahead of Patrick Mahomes. Halfway through last year, I was championing Tyreek Hill as the MVP of the league. He is indefensible. His speed is so incredible that he's making Tua Tagovailoa, I think, look like a really, really good quarterback when I'm not sure that he's that good. But Tyreek does have that kind of impact on defenses that he makes the other 10 players on the field with him better. And so I don't agree. I think Patrick Mahomes should be ranked number one, but I can't be mad at Tyreek Hill being ranked number one. He does have enormous impact.
Jason, I've always thought there should have been two different lists. List of quarterbacks, list of real football players. I've thought that for a while, and I know you probably agree with me. I believe there was about a 6, 7, 8 year stretch where Aaron Donald was the best player in football, position for position, pound for pound. Nobody was better than him at what he did. But then how do you quantify a defensive tackle to a quarterback? So I've always thought they should split the list up because what do we hear? What's the mantra? It's a quarterback league, and without a quarterback, you can't win, right? But in terms of what their impact is at their position and their dominance, and the fact that every time he lines up outside, I guarantee you the back end of that defense is saying, there's number 10. Watch him. There is like a Randy Moss effect that you have to make sure we know where he is, and he's still going to beat you over the top. So by that standard, I'm not that outraged either.
The other thing that I find preposterous on this list, and it's not, hey, look, the guy's in the conversation for the greatest tight end of all time. But he played 15 games last year. It's the first time in 6, 7, 8 years he didn't crack 1,000 yards. He had 5 TDs. He only had 984 receiving yards. Travis Kelce can thank. He needs to send Taylor Swift a thank you card for him being ranked number 8. This makes no sense. He didn't have 1,000 receiving yards, only 5 TDs. What's he doing here? How is he number 8 on this list?
Winning Super Bowls helps, and I think he had a pretty good postseason. I thought for a while, my favorite tight end is Kittle out of San Francisco. If he was featured the way Kelce is in Kansas City, he'd put up monstrous numbers. Okay, but the guy that I think is a rising star is Laporta out of Detroit, another great draft choice by Brad Holmes. But you're right. Does Kelce get a bump because he's so visible? And let's face it, let's go back to the players. I think a lot of football players don't actually watch a lot of football outside what they have to, right? But you'd ask them, hey, who's the tight end of the Kansas City Chiefs? He's dating that pop star. Basically, everyone in America knows Travis Kelce. Like pound for pound lists in boxing, a lot of this is a popularity contest.
Certainly a popularity contest. Josh Allen outside the top 10 at 12. Jalen Hurts 15, and
Little high.
Dak
little
Prescott
high there.
Dak Prescott number 16 on this list. And again, maybe that playoff game has blown up my perception of of Dak Prescott, or again, the guy just melted in the playoffs. Maybe he had a great regular season, and I'm just forgetting, because I know he did have a good regular season, but all I remember is him melting down in the playoffs. I don't know how he comes in as fourth. He's the fourth best quarterback according to this list.
And I would disagree. Some people are going to say I'm prisoner of the moment, but I'd buy stock in two quarterbacks over Dak Prescott: Jordan One Love and C.J. Stroud. Next year at this time, I want to make a prediction. Okay, Kim Stradamus says those two guys will be in the top 10, and it'll be well-deserved.
All right, Steve, thank you. You know what? Don't go anywhere. I'm going to include you in our Justice for TT segment because it involves Serena Williams. So let's play the Justice for TT Open, and then we'll talk about it with Steve Kim. It's time. Justice for TT, my favorite part of the show, when we fight for justice for victims of this racial pandemic that's destroying America. And today it's Serena Williams. I don't know if you know this, Steve, but she's over in Paris for the Olympics with her 6-year-old daughter, I believe. And a tragedy befell the Williams family over in Paris. Serena was not given access to a rooftop restaurant lounge area, and she tweeted about it. Yikes, and she's over at the Peninsula Hotel in Paris. I've been denied access to rooftop to eat in an empty restaurant of nicer places, but never with my kids. Always a first. Hashtag Olympic 2024. Whew! The Peninsula responded. Dear Miss Williams, please accept our deepest apologies for the disappointment you encountered tonight. Unfortunately, our rooftop bar was indeed fully booked, and only unoccupied tables you saw belonged to our gourmet restaurant, Louise LeBlanc, which was fully reserved. I just don't know how she's going to endure this tragedy. She was denied a seat at a restaurant in Paris, Steve. Can you empathize with the pain and agony that Serena and her family are going through?
Well, as a Korean, I could certainly appreciate rooftop viewing and what the rooftops bring to our community and the safety that they provide and the shelter that they have to our businesses. So, yeah, I could see why she'd want to be up there. But again, is she making this a racial issue? Because it's certainly entitlement. But is it about the kids, or is she using the kids as some sort of shield? Like, hey, I'm bringing my kids, so I should get in. I don't understand that. I mean, would she have been given access if she brought in her husband, who I believe is white? Would that have been a bigger trump card to play? So I don't know. But again, this is just, I go to places all the time I'm not allowed to go into. I can't afford them. That's one thing. But being a perpetual complainer seems to go along with a lot of these minority athletes when they don't get their way. That's my view of it.
It's an incredible level of entitlement. And it's people, when she tweeted this out, people were cheering her on, and people were acting like some crime had happened to her. And I'm like, are you kidding me? She's, because here's one thing, and again, she's in Paris, not America. But here's how, if you're a super rich celebrity, the way to fix your problems is always with money. Oh, I can't get a seat here? What if I slip you $100? What if I slip you $500? That's how you fix problems. You don't go to Twitter and say, hey, I'm Serena Williams. How dare you not give me a seat? And many of these athletes and celebrities, that is their mentality, that they're doing the restaurant a favor by being there. Don't you understand? I'm making your restaurant famous and cool, and your patrons will enjoy knowing that I was in here eating at the same time. That's the mentality. I've seen it. I've witnessed it firsthand. It's repulsive to me, but that is the mentality. The people they're so used to being catered to that, as Thomas Sowell says, when they're not catered to, it feels like oppression. And that's what we're seeing here from Serena Williams, and we egg it on. There's many of her fans, many of the public, but of course she should be treated different. Of course she should be treated better. And we see ourselves as peasants, and we see this group of elites who we think, oh yeah, they don't need to be treated like normal people. They need to be treated better than everyone else. So we feed Serena's derangement. She tweeted that out because she knows she has several million followers who will hop on board and start screaming justice for TT, for Serena Williams, when nothing happened to her. She just had to go to a different restaurant.
Can I say something? If I'm a high-end restaurant with clientele, with adults that just want to have a nice romantic night in gay Paris, looking at the Eiffel Tower with all its new graffiti, the last thing I want is kids running around. Having kids, actually, to me, if I'm the maitre d', I'd be like, oh, you have those little shits. Pass. I'm serious. It's one thing to bring your kids up to a sporting event, to a press conference, right? And you want sympathy, so you bring your kids up. Hey, that means no tough questions today, right? I get that. If I'm one of these 4-star places, right, I don't want any kids around. Seriously. They don't know how to behave. They chomp on their food. They use the wrong fork. Go to Burger King. Seriously. Don't use your kids as some sort of shield or a pass. That's terrible. That's just my opinion.
Doesn't sound like Steve's interested in justice for Serena, but I am. So, Steve, I'm going to let you go.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great job as always. We will continue the fight for justice for Serena Williams. Serena, if you're ever in Nashville, I will make sure that Cane Prime, Bourbon Steak, Halls, any of the high-end restaurants, Chipotle, I'll make sure you get the service and the seating that you demand, that your privilege dictates. But that's it, and that's all for us. We'll play tomorrow, and we'll see you tomorrow.
No negotiation, my sister, no relation. We all just wanna have freedom. Sitting on a corner, never been alone. I'll break my back for freedom. Blessed, we are living, get back. We are receiving, no deceiving. We all wanna be free. We want freedom.